Black, Indigenous, peoples of color committee came up together to talk to you guys. Of course, it's a difficult dialogue, right, concerning racism in the community colleges and how to build an anti-racist organization. So if you are a student and you don't know anything about FAC, we thought about FAC, we're picking up on FAC, how you could build an anti-racist institution. If you don't have any idea, you can talk about your campuses. How would you build an anti-racist organization? Abolitionist, right? We just learned, maybe you guys learned some new words, upending injustice within our education system. We can start, some of us can start with FAC, we can do our campuses. And I had some, it's not, Kelly, can you go to the next one? I guess I don't have control of it. We kind of have a little agenda here, what we wanted to do. I was going to do a longer introduction, but after Dr. Melina Abdullah, I don't think I need to do an introduction because it fits right in perfectly what we wanted to do in this section. So, and I'm going to turn it on to Kaylee Velasquez, my co-host, that is going to explain how the break rooms are going to work. Okay, Kaylee?
All right, great. So I'm just going to fast forward through some of the slides because, as Natalina said, it was a great talk we had right now this morning that kind of leads perfectly into what we want to accomplish today in our session. And so I wanted to start the breakout rooms by having this in mind, which is from Ibram Kendi, How to Be an Anti-Racist. He says, being an anti-racist requires persistent self-awareness, constant self-criticism, and regular self-examination. And that's genuinely what we want to accomplish in this next part of our session today. We're going to be breaking you all into breakout rooms. And I'm going to go through what we want you to do. Once I do that, I'm going to review the community agreements just so that they're fresh in our minds. And then I will share a link and you will all be placed into the breakout rooms to start this reflection and discussion that is very needed. So the first thing we're going to do, you will have 25 minutes, and now since we might be in there a little bit longer, so that's exciting. Each breakout room will have a member from the Black, Indigenous, and People of Color Committee to help guide your group, should your group need it. Some of the questions that we want you all, or we want you to reflect on the following 5 questions silently. So once you get into the rooms, we want you to spend some time reflecting on the following questions that our committee put together. The first one is, what would a liberated anti-racist institution look like and feel like? What concrete steps could you take within your institution to alter the relations of power to dismantle racism? How do we discuss white supremacy? And what personal steps could you take to decolonize your emotional and intellectual life? Okay, so again, we really want to encourage you to be self-reflective, right? Get uncomfortable. That's kind of the goal. We want you to be in that space. We really want to challenge you to reflect personally. And so after the 5 minutes of reflection or so, right, since now we might have a little more time in the breakout rooms, I'm really excited about this. That's why I keep repeating it. We want you to discuss it in your groups, in your smaller groups. And we want you to spend 20 minutes discussing and contributing to a Google slide for your breakout room. And again, I will share that link momentarily. Or if Lydia, sorry to throw you on the spot, I shared the link with you. If you could also share that link in the chat, I just want everyone to have access to that. All right, so let me go ahead and read the community agreements as a reminder. In the spirit of support, empathy, and equity, conference participants agree to respect others' identities, backgrounds, boundaries, and viewpoints. Be aware of the environment, Recognize one's positionality, institutional as well as personal, in relationship to others. Consider the impact of one's words regardless of one's intentions. Engage in active listening. Be fully present. Step up, step back. Share the space. Be mindful of the time and space you are occupying. Maintain curiosity rather than judgment. Keep an open mind. We are here to learn from one another. Speak when you witness injustice or have an opportunity to educate and advocate. Continue positive engagement towards truth and reconciliation. Commit to an ongoing health and safety of the larger learning community. Facilitation. The whole group takes responsibility for supporting the facilitators. Keep an eye on time. Help keep the conversation on topic and relevant. Help prevent or interrupt attempts by individuals or groups to overpower the group. Summarize discussion, synthesize people's comments when helpful, and note key areas of agreement to help move the group forward. Ensure the group upholds the community agreement. And lastly, Zoom etiquette. Remember to mute yourself while others are speaking. Raise your hand during the Q&A session for any questions. Refrain from comments not related to the presentation or discussion. Respect the privacy and personal information images of others. Anyone willing to observe the community agreement will be exited from the Zoom room. Okay, so I know it was quite long, but very important to go through. I can't see, it was shared in the chat already. We created these Google Slides to kind of help you all take notes while you're discussing. Facilitators can be the note takers, but somebody else could be the note taker as well, whoever feels comfortable in that space. Okay, I don't know if I should ask, sorry, that was the professor in me. Are there any questions? Natalina, do you want to add anything?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I know you might wondering why are we asking you to take notes. We want fact to have these notes, right? We wanted to have great ideas that maybe we can publish some of these ideas and help other institutions come up with, okay, if I want to be an anti-racist, but I don't know how to do it. Maybe you guys can come up with some groundbreaking ideas that could move us forward. We need this conversation. We need people a brilliant idea. And my think is like 100 brains is better than one. And so this is what we want to keep some of this to guide us in the future. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Yeah. So, so I hope it was productive. I hope you guys came up with some great ideas that is going to help us move forward. Does anybody want to share? Should we share at least one idea from each group? Talk a little bit about it. I know some people came back to us uncomfortable, but this is what it's supposed to be uncomfortable. And I just want to say something, even though I'm a woman of color, I told you guys before, my superpower is my voice. I still feel uncomfortable when I talk about race, okay, and ethnicity. I don't believe in race. I just wanted to paraphrase that. We all humans, right? From my anthropology background, we usually talk about that. We all Homo sapiens sapiens. That's our species. And yeah, we have different ethnicities. Dolores and I we're talking about how we have a bad sense of humor because we are Portuguese descendants. People don't like our sense of humor, but we only make sense to ourselves, right? So I see that I have a hand up. I have Christina with her hand up, and I thought I saw Robin Daniels is going to go next. Christina and Nikki after.
Thanks. I just wanted to share very quickly our group. I chose to spend a little bit of time introducing ourselves, specifically because these conversations can be very difficult and uncomfortable. And so that didn't leave us as much time to dig into all of the questions. In fact, we barely talked about the first question, but I just wanted to share some thoughts about that first question. The very first thing that came to mind for me was budget priorities, because I feel like the money is where, you know, wherever the money goes, that's considered an investment, right? And then I started thinking, you know, there's systemic issues and then there's interpersonal, and the interpersonal can be very, very difficult. But the systemic is something I think we can chip away at. We can legislate, we can, you know, make rules and change systems and processes. And that could be a way to, you know, shift that tide.
Thank you, Christina. Robin, I think it was Robin. Daniel.
Hi, yes, hi. I spoke a little bit in our group about we're talking about diversity and everything, and who's in the room. So I spoke on the fact that a lot of times we're in the room and we're saying this organization or this board or this what have you, this committee is of people of color, and most of the time it's without someone that is Black. But then the people in the room are speaking for Black, which is kind of hard to do, considering Blacks are one of the worst treating people in the country, in the world, actually. So I would just wanted to say that we should try to push more to have someone in the room that is Black, if we're going to be speaking for Black people, when we say speaking for people of color. Also wanted to say that this is my last year on the board, and I've had a great time on this board and learned a lot of different things. But I also want to say I am one of 2 Black people on the board, and I will be leaving this summer, and then there will be one person left, on the Black person on the board, which is Natalina. So if we could, it would be nice if we could refer or nominate or however encourage someone else Black to be on the board. Thank you.
Thank you,
Right.
Robin. Nikki?
Thank you. I guess I want to point out 2 dynamics. And one is that I think having the conversation about racism is difficult within the emotional structures that we've got set up. I think we are not paying enough attention to that, but I'm not sure how best to address the emotional damage across the society that is creating a lot of confusion and making discussion really difficult. The second thing that I want to just raise up is the notion of representation. So, you know, it's really obvious in California, you know, Latinx, API, African-American, it's so underrepresented. And I think the largest area of underrepresentation is with Latinx. We're not having those conversations in really forthright manner. And within the community college system, the underrepresentation you see in the power structures is with students. There's right now this study bill that SSCCC has about looking at adding a student vote to every board. What's not included, as near as I know, is a look at the Board of Governors. Why is it that the Board of Governors has just 2 students on it, only one of whom gets to vote? It strikes me that if we were to be really student-centered and really listening to students, that the Board of Governors itself would be made up at least of half the body would be students. And that we are not talking about this serious transformation of power structures, I think is actually probably one of the most damning gaps or vacuums in the whole thing. So anyway, I look forward to hearing what other people have to say. Thanks.
But you know, the Board of Governors needs faculty too, right? A lot of those people that are on the Board of Governors are not faculty.
Let's get to that whole conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Cora, go ahead. Martinez, Kurima, should I call you? Hold on.
Yes. Yes. Hi. So I want to share what we spoke about in my group. One person shared that it was really important to decolonize the curriculum, that it was extremely Eurocentric, and that having more Latinx, Chicanx, Black, and Asian, and just professions of color would help to, like, I guess, de-Eurocentrify the curriculum, because then it would have to be shaped differently if there is more of a demographic in there. And then another thing that we spoke about was it's okay to be wrong. It's okay that you grow up thinking something a certain way and then realize, hey, that way of thinking was wrong. To realize, like, hey, maybe this was racist of me. Or even though I wasn't intentionally being racist, it's affecting people negatively. It still has racist connotations. It's still helping to uphold a certain, structure that works to oppress a group of people. So regardless if my intentions are positive or whatever it may have you, it doesn't matter what my intentions are if they are negatively affecting people. So it's okay to grow up thinking one thing, you have your bubble that is your community, you think one thing, and then you grow older and, okay, I realize that this is wrong. I'm going to change my ways. I'm going to educate myself, and I'm now going to work to educate those in my community that, are still in the bubble, so haven't, realized that this is wrong or detrimental.
Mm. I thought I saw Oranit's hand up. Oranit, did she get kicked out? I'm going to go to Kaylee. Kaylee, hi.
Hi, I just wanted to share something that I answered with for the question pertaining to how we discuss white supremacy. Just because sometimes I feel like when people talk about white supremacy, they refer to it as a one-time event or an isolated incident that's solely related to Donald Trump's administration. And it was definitely important that we got him out of office. But I think if we just stop our efforts there, white supremacy is not going to automatically go away just because we have Biden in office. So I think when we discuss white supremacy, we need to understand that it's something that's deeply rooted within our country that doesn't go away overnight. We definitely have to continue working to combat it. And it's definitely because of how deeply rooted it is within our country. It's also very prevalent in our education, hiring practices, in our police force, prisons, etc. So I think this is something that people should understand when having this discussion.
Thank you. Very well said. Yeah, it's something that it didn't go away with Donald Trump. Yeah, thank you, Kaylee. Thank you so much. Oranit, you back.
Yeah, yes, I'm back. I was trying to share the airtime with everyone else, but I would like to add that in our group, we talked about, and Robin mentioned this as well. I think we need to make sure that, when the institution talks about changes or how to, work against racism, we need to make sure that, people of color are at the table, or people who have been mistreated historically or have been marginalized historically are at the table. And then that would have to start from hiring, because how else do you get there? You need to have more administrators, you need to have more faculty. And again, our students need to be able to see people who look like them. And I'm gonna just be blunt that as a person of color, I don't even think that my students treat me the way they treat their white professors. There are people, and I teach ESL, and my students look like me, but again, our system, our institution has taught them to think that if you're white, you're superior. And so I had students who look like me who said, I'm gonna ask so-and-so professor who is white. Mm-hmm. So we really need to, we have a lot of work to do. We need to also educate our students that white doesn't mean that that you are superior, or if you have fair skin, you're not superior. And we need to be at the table. We need to hire more administrators, faculty, classified staff who can help our students understand that. Thank you.
Thank you, Oranit. Thank you. I think it says Galaxy. J3 Star.
Yes, it's Poopy. Hi. Um, I want to share my thought. I think I kind of agree with what is her name? Oranit, the one who just
Yeah, Orange. Yes.
spoke. Yes, because I mean, it's so hard, like, I mean, I want to talk by my own experience. I'm from Cameroon, Africa, and then when I came here, I wanted so badly because I like be on TV and things like that. I decided to go back to school and do journalism. And then friends and family members were like, hell no, you won't have any, you will not have a job because it's for white people. It's like, like those kind of jobs is only for white people. So you will not have any opportunities to be successful and things. I was like, what? So for people, I mean, for people for my country or like most of Black people community, something that is already normal, like only white people like needs to be on TV. Black people are not allowed to do that, and I think that is not okay. We need to hire more people who are Black. We need to educate ourselves so people can understand that we are all we are brave, we are good, we can do anything that others people do. I mean, it's so hard. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. It is hard. But I'd like to hear from other people. Come on, this was an exercise that we all should self-analyze and see what we came up with. I know that we had several questions. I don't know if Kelly wants to put them up, right? What would liberated and anti-racist institution look like and feel like, right? I wanted to go back to that, this idea of feeling like. Some of you guys were giving option, talk about fact, Robin did, right? Robert Daniels. But, in your own campus, how would it look like? How does it feel like to be in an anti-racist institution? Right, I'm gonna throw back at you guys. Come on, be brave. Be like the engine that could, yeah? I guess I'm showing my age. About, come on, yeah? So it is funny, okay. Okay, so I have Ali, I think, Aguilera.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ale. I'm an intern at Pierce College, and in my group, somebody mentioned how she didn't answer it for this question, but I think it relates to what would a liberated institution look like. She mentioned how she wants, like, specifically white professors and instructors to just listen to their students who are BIPOC students. And I know as an instructor, you have like degrees and you have all this education to back your research, but sometimes like you don't understand like the hurt that people of color go through or the pain. And I think that that would be awesome in a liberated institution to just have an instructor who listens and is not defensive and can understand like, yes, I know all this information already, but I'm just here to listen to my students.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. John Fox.
Hello. As I shared in my group, and I feel kind of strongly about this, is in a liberated anti-racist institution, I think at the forefront of all decisions that are made and all actions taken is that the impact on people of color, particularly students of color, is deeply considered, because there's a lot of racist policies that are in the institution, not because people were consciously racist, but they didn't look enough at their own racism when they made the decision. And so a lot of the stuff happened just unconsciously, but it had consequences on people of color. So, when, being anti-racist has to be at the forefront of everyone's mind and has to become really embedded in the culture of the institution and at the forefront of all policies that are made.
Thank you. Yeah, very much. Well said. Berta. Hi, Berta.
Hi there. I shared a little bit in my group about this amazing opportunity, having a new early education center opening soon on our campus. And I mean, I'm just so grateful to have this conversation now, but so many thoughts running through my head about being so much more overtly intentional in the interactions and guidance we provide for children, in the training that we provide for teachers to have children who stand up for each other and have this humanity and respect. And then to also have the parents of those children and the college students that come to observe, not just see, you know, amazing interactions and guidance of children, but have people saying, here's why we're doing this and here's what we're doing. And I just making the teaching and learning visible that we're doing on anti-racism, and really we could be a hub of anti-racist work starting in that program. So the challenge is there and the opportunity. One thing also that occurs to me is that I really want to get rid of the hierarchy in that center of me as the faculty director. And I have experience in a collective infant toddler program, but everyone is equal. Everyone has an area that they take care of and contribute. And I think that could be a very practical piece of evidence about really trying to just change this part of the institution anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Berta. I'm calling on my screen up and down. You guys, I apologize if I'm going to go from last to first, but I don't see who was first. Tuck, go ahead.
I wanted to, I liked I'm sorry that I forget the student who said, you know, white supremacy isn't just one event, but it's historical, and it you know, it happens over a span of, you know, many countries and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And on that same vein, I wanted to, you know, because we're talking about faculty, institutions can also be, when we talk about anti-racism, there's a focus on making sure that it's student-centered, right? And that seems to be the buzzword, like how can we create an anti-racist situation for students? But they're also in the classroom with professors, with faculty. And so if we're not addressing the racism that faculty experience as well, and those who work to create an anti-racist environment, then I think that that's a missing portion of the conversation. We see it, you know, reflected in student evaluations. Women of color, faculty of color, receive crazy biased evaluations, and yet as an institution, you know, there's this emphasis like, what do the students say? What do the students want? And you know, to address kind of like that specific layer of recognizing that anti-racism needs to also be very forefront in protecting faculty from experiencing racist situations. I can bring in an example that in my own institution, there's a disproportionate amount of faculty who are on the tenure track who have been asked to be reevaluated, have been asked to be, have been put on probation because of student evaluations. And yet they're not looking at the fact that the students who are evaluating, I work in a region that's very conservative, and there's a lot of MAGA Trumpsters, a lot of white evangelicals, and disproportionately the faculty who have been put on probation are all faculty of color, all. And so I think that that needs to be in the conversation of like, you know, how do deans, how do our leaders in our institutions address that part of racism?
Thank you. Sally, I saw you had a hand up. I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't want to talk, but I saw your hand up, Sally. Go ahead.
Yes, I don't know why it went away, but yeah, actually, I was not even going to put it back up because I just really love hearing what everybody's saying. But just On a personal level, and being in Santa Barbara City College, as much as it's a fairly liberal and open-minded area and community, there's obviously still racism. And sometimes I realize I live in a bit of a bubble, and at the college, same thing, because it's just shocking to me. I just can't believe some of the things I hear on the news and that other people are going through. I just can't believe that this is still going on. I mean, all this, not even going to all of it, but it has to do with racism and prejudice and unfair treatment. So with at our college, one of the things we've tried to do is, and it's actually been really pushed, is we had to recognize that it's there. I mean, a lot of us didn't know that so much of this was going on. I don't think it's horribly prevalent like it is at other colleges. So I think as an institution, one of the steps is it's there, it's happening. It'll probably always be there in certain individuals, but these are, step 1, 2, 3 that we can institute into it. But I like the idea that the people have mentioned about listening to the stories. That really resonates with me, and it's helped me to. I've always had empathy for all kinds of challenges and people's stories, but it just makes me realize there's so many more stories out there, and some of it can be very subtle. And I realize that there are some things that I've been sayings that I didn't know had some terrible history to it. So I'm trying to educate myself. So I think that's really part of it, is listening, recognizing the challenges and that it's there, and listening to the stories, and doing each individual, and then as a organization, taking the steps to get as equitable of a climate as you can. So thank you for this discussion, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sally. Frankie? More?
Yes, Frankie. Yes, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm the one dealing with this. Okay, here we go. So thank you very much. Yes, this is a very great topic. I'm enjoying. I'm listening to the feedback. And in our particular group, in group 1, we only were able to get to question 1 because we had a lot of feedback and a lot of good information that came out of it. But a couple of comments that were stated earlier, and then I'm going to echo one of the comments that someone from my group talked about. But echoing John's comment about the institution, in terms of being an anti-racist institution, yes, we do need to look at the representation of the faculty, but it starts at the top. So we need to go back to the top. It starts at our institutions at the top with those that make the decisions, and that we want the representation of the faculty in terms of our students to look like, we want our faculty to look like our students. So it does start at the top. And then in our group, I'd like to thank Doug for this, because Doug, I'm taking this metaphor with me, that our institutions now have a club already, and you know who makes up that club. So what we need to do is we need to change the membership of that club. We need to change the club membership in terms of making it be more racial, make it be more culturally, and make it be more ethnicity in terms of representing those type of groups in that club. So I'm using that metaphor, Doug, that they're club members, but we just need to change the makeup of the club on our campuses. Thank you.
So that's the last comment we're going to take, because we're running out of time. But I want to leave you guys with one idea. I teach women in politics, and she's one of my favorite author, even though, you go through school, you never hear about her. I've been shouting it out since, I've been reading a lot of research about Ellen Baker. And Ella Baker, she says, a reduction of injustice is not the same as freedom. So if we know that abolitionist teaching is about freedom, so let's put that, right? Or talking about reducing injustice is not the way to go about, but that we have to, everybody can be free. And Dr. Melina Abdullah this morning, right, hinted in a lot of stuff that we, as a group of people, as Americans, as human beings, needs to take into consideration what is the part that we want to play in this time in history, right? I know yesterday, Dr. Barbara Ransby talked about Anandatu Roy, that she talks about that let's take this time of this COVID and find a portal, that this is a portal to another life, to another us, to another us as human beings. So we should get all that together, right? And if you haven't read none of this stuff, it's okay. Go find some of those books. I know I kept sending pictures to the people of all the books that they were mentioned. Go find some of that. And remember again, right? Heather McGhee says that racism does not just hinder people of color, but it's hindering all of us. And so I want to leave you guys with that thought. And thank you very much for your participation in this portion of the program. And Evan, somebody take it away.
Thank you, Natalina. Can we get a round of applause for Natalina and the entire committee for all their incredible work putting this session together? Thank you so much.